In the last video, we fed all my fish. In today's video, we're going to do all the water changes with this contraption I created months ago, but I forgot to show you it. Anyways, Nova Scotia is entering another full 2-week lockdown, which means the big thing I've been working on behind the scenes is going to be kind of put on a temporary hold, and I can catch up with videos and doing a lot of other things that I gotta do, including water changes. You see, typically speaking, and I might get this in the wrong order, Mondays I change all the water in the 120s. I clean them up, I do their glass, I change their water, etc. Tuesdays is the 700, and Wednesdays is the 2000. Thursdays is the salt water, and finally Friday we wind down by just doing the quarantine tanks and the 40 gallons. Really simple. I think I do it in that order anyway. That's a huge question, like for a lot of people, is like, how do you possibly take care of all of these fish? Well, I separate it into separate days, about 2 to 3 hours of water changes every day, probably closer to 2 hours of water changes every day of the week, so 10 hours a week, and that's kind of an average. The 40 gallons don't take me that long, and all these 120s, probably 2 hours, the 7, it depends on how much water I'm changing. Bottom line is this. If you're ever wondering how many gallons of water can the average person technically handle and take care of themselves, and just using basic methods to care for them, my estimate would probably be between 4,000 and 5,000 gallons of water, believe it or not. That means once a week for about 8 hours a day, for that entire day, 8 to 10 hours for that day, you'll be cleaning your tanks. Or if you're like me, you could just do it throughout the week. I like to break it down so it doesn't feel like it's a job and I'm just out here tinkering with my tanks type of deal. You get the idea. Anyways, I don't like to be out here doing water changes for too long. I want to make it as fast as possible. When it comes to the aquarium itself, I typically don't have to do any gravel vacuuming because I have ample flow within the aquarium, circulation of the water column, so things aren't really settling, and if they do, they kind of go all in one space. I just suck that out every once in a while. So my maintenance essentially is just clean the glass once a month or every couple of weeks or whatever you have time for. Give the sponges, the mechanical sponges in the filters, a rinse. I did that last week, so I'm not going to do it this week, but you get the idea. I fill a bucket with aquarium water. I take the sponges out of the filters and I just get all the gunk off them and remove all of those solids from the aquarium that lead to pollution. Just because your aquarium is crystal clear and you don't have buildup anywhere, that doesn't mean that, and your filter's doing such a good job, you still have to clean that filter every once in a while, because just because you don't see what's in the tank doesn't mean it's not still polluting it. I'm also just going to be doing a 25% water change on all of these aquariums today. Kind of talking you through it. This is what I've been doing it with for the past several months. This is a common shower drain. This is 1.5 inch PVC pipe, a connector here. So everything kind of just slides on. None of it's really glued together because just in case I need to take it apart, make some adjustments, that sort of thing. I don't have any leaks. And then I attach it to a union and a swimming pool hose. It's attached to this union because every once in a while I get connected to my big filters to flush them out. So it's a multi-purpose tool for me. I can also just put it in the tank like this and start draining it. It's only going to drain 50%. But today, I only want to do 25%, so I just balance it like this. I put the lip of the elbow on the glass lid, and it goes to about 25%. Maybe it might be 30%. Shut off the water pump, but I don't have to shut off the filters or anything because the water's not blowing or sucking down low enough. So essentially, all I gotta do, come out here, clean the glass. I like to feed the fish and clean the glass first because whatever I'm removing, or if there's extra nutrients in the tank, I'd rather have it removed with a water change as opposed to doing your water change, filling it back up, and then cleaning the algae off or whatever, and that's just all left in the tank. And then, what I'll do off camera, because this is a mostly family-friendly channel, I'm gonna go suck on the end of that hose. And that gets it running. Now, you could see how fast it's draining. As I find this information, I wanna show you here real quick. I don't know why we call it family-friendly, because these are my analytics for my main channel. A lot of people are like, Joey, the kid's watching. What kids? It's mostly guys that watch my channel, and mostly people my age. I need to step it up a little bit with with being less family friendly. No, my podcast is more so like that, more X-rated. Now here's the trick. As I'm working on the other tanks, I immediately start filling this tank, because odds are by the time I'm done cleaning the algae on this one and draining it, it's time to be filled. And there's no point to draining all the tanks and them all sitting around half empty while I wait to fill them and drain them all. But I also use 2 water sources for now. The gallery's water source and my house, which is right beside me. So water changes during the summertime is tremendously easier because I don't have the winter to deal with. So I can actually have the door open as I fill from the house, and it could be open a crack or whatever. And because I heat the gallery, not the tanks, it's really important that I don't lose heat. That gets expensive fast. But this just makes everything tremendously faster. If I had to clean the filters while this is happening, what I do is once I get all the 120s, for example, all the water out of them, I will start filling them. I just don't turn the filters, I turn the filters off. I just won't turn them back on because as soon as I'm done draining all the water and then filling back up, that's when I start cleaning the filters. So it's not like I'm losing time. It's just a matter of how long does it take to fill all these tanks. The draining process is super quick. The filling process is super quick. Oh, and you only have to suck on those hoses once. So once I've already done that, look at that. I simply just empty the hose by picking it up above the water level, and any remaining water in here is going to rush out, but behind it creates suction. Can you guys hear me? You can, okay. So I don't gotta be out here sucking on a hose all day. And that just drains out to my yard. I move it around sporadically. It waters my yard beautifully. Now, if a tank has algae that its common algae scrubber or brush magnet doesn't take off, I'll just come over and get it with one of these. So that's 2 tanks now cleaned and drained, and one of them's filling. We just keep it moving. This can be done abundantly quickly. I mean, and if I'm feeling really energetic, I'm doing the bare minimum today because I got a busy day ahead of me, but if I'm feeling really energetic, I'll go ahead and I'll wipe the glass, I'll take the lids off, I'll clean them. It all doesn't have to be done at once, it all doesn't have to be done every single week. See, that's it, I just gotta pick the hose up a little bit and it drains itself. If you got a lot of tanks, you gotta do it this way. Another easy way is to do it with a pump. All of these tanks as well, take a look. See the roots here? Because this doesn't have a background, but you can see it's pothos growing on top of it. This one does too, but you can't see it because it has the rocks. This one does too, but you don't see it, or no, this one doesn't. I lied. This one does, and the other one does, but you don't see the roots because they're behind the background. Look, I drained this one so fast showing you something that I didn't have enough time to clean the algae off. This isn't really all that bad for algae on this tank. It's more so like bacteria growing on it. Let's just say I hide my magnets typically. I just hide them behind something so you don't see them, but they're always like there. A little behind. But as you can see, even though this is a crude method of doing it, the water level in all the tanks after being drained, see that? It's identical. It's not 25%, but it's also not 50%. It's probably closer to like 30, 35%. 30% is fine. I'll go with that number. His tank is always so clean. It's just one fish in here, so it's not like it's a massive job. So the flow outside isn't that fast, and this is moving relatively slower than it typically should. So there's an air bubble trap somewhere. So I'll lift this up above where the hose starts, and I'll just keep going by. And what this is doing is air is going to rise, so the air bubble is going to go up with it. And I just keep going like this until I get to the end. And then it's out. The only thing I gotta make sure I turn off is the wave makers. I technically spend more time outside with the end of the hose watering my lawn than I do in here. Now watch this. As soon as the last 120 is done draining, the first 120 is going to be done filling. So if today was 120 day, if today was Monday, all I would be doing is these 120s. And I'm telling you, maybe 20 minutes of hands-on work. The rest, I just sit around waiting for it to fill. Now, time-wise, this is an interesting one. When it comes to the 120s, we're looking at maybe an hour, 2 hours if I want to do a deep clean. I got to do the filters, I want to take the lids off, I want to clean them, I want to do a gravel vacuum, which I rarely ever have to do. How long does this actually take? Well, it's probably about, what, 15 minutes to drain them all? Now, each one of my water lines is filling at 2.5 gallons per minute. The total of 5 gallons a minute. In an hour, it's about 300 gallons in an hour. Now, if I'm doing 120 these 120 gallon tanks, I'm doing a 30% water change on each. That means I'm changing about 200 gallons, which means filling them is going to take me about 45 minutes. Draining them, 15 to 20. If I want to do deep clean, blah, blah, blah. We're looking at like maybe an hour. If I'm going to go crazy, 2 hours. So when you guys are feeling pity for me, or you think that you could never do this, or there's too many, if you really get and narrow down your time, it's no time at all. You just got to be smart with how you do it. For example, while I'm out here, I do my feeding. Within an hour or two, I can do the 120s, feeding, cleaning up, tidying, etc. But the 2000 is what takes the longest to clean up and to work on, just because it's a massive volume of water. Luckily, though, I'm a genius. This not only hangs on to the side, and it's a 1.5 inch, so it drains the water incredibly fast. This not only hangs on to the lip of the tank, and what that does, it obviously means it's not going to fall out, but it also is going to only drain it to a set rate, and it's about 12 inches long, 14 inches long, so it does about a 50% water change if I have it in all the way. But when it comes to the big tank, I flip it upside down, right? So if I'm going to be using this, I flip it upside down, and I put it in like this. That means if it gets to the bottom, I still will have 12, 14 inches of water left, and I'll never actually completely drain the tank. Now, draining it isn't the problem. I can sit here and watch this get drained as I clean the tank and scrub it down, whatever I want to do. It's the filling process. Sitting here and waiting for 1,000 gallons to fill or 500 gallons to fill could be a couple hours. And I don't want to sit here watching. Instead, I let these little cameras watch. I'll set it right in front of the viewing panel, and I'll go in the house, or I'll go, heck, I've gone to the gym before knowing this takes a couple hours to fill. I'll go to the gym, I'll go to the grocery store, I'll do whatever, and I just look at my phone and know that I gotta be home in 15, 20 minutes to shut the water off, etc. It's not that big of a deal. Technically easier to take care of than the 120s. More hands-on, more hectic, and I gotta dedicate an hour or two, and this is like, well, put the hose in and fill it, come back when you can, when the camera says to. Now when it comes to the 2,000 gallon aquarium, before I start draining that water, take off all the lids so I can access it. The lids are only there for humidity and reasons. But this is a shower scrubber. I've shown you guys over and over and over again. I can actually replace this and wash it, do whatever I want. But the reason I like using this is because this is a 1.6 inch thick acrylic panel. Magnets don't work on it. Maybe a little bit. Some do, like massive ones, but they're just not strong enough to do like a really good job. So I'll walk the entire distance doing a little bit at a time. Doesn't take any time at all. But this side typically gets more algae than the other side for no other reason other than I simply don't clean it as much. Now, typically speaking, I don't actually use this hose for the majority of the time. Both of these aquariums are run off these massive canisters. I'll hook up the hose right here. This is a like a flushing port, and I put it into backwash mode, and it backwashes the filter, cleans out all the debris. But I just did that last week. Not necessary to do it every week. Personally, I find those are most effective if you give them a backwash every 2 to 3 weeks. We got all the 120s drained, 2 of them filled, 3 to go, and all we've done in the meantime is scrub the 2000, which didn't take very long at all. Let me have your water back. That's another big reason I like to feed my fish before I do maintenance, is because now if I gotta put my hands in there, I gotta do anything, they're not gonna be jumping at me or thinking I'm food or trying to attack me or being too curious. They're content now. I'm not worried about the stingrays. At all. The stingrays are not going to bother me as long as I don't bother them. The arowana will try to bite me just to try to bite me. So he's the one that I make sure is fed before I do any of this. I have to open these lids up in order to clean everything. I could use a magnet, but it's not as good as doing it with some elbow grease. So, a lot of the times, and for the longest times, I only did the panels, but today we're going to do the bottom of the tank as well. It's long overdue. I might do the front panels with the magnet, in fact, just so I don't have to have these open for too much longer. But we're going to see if we can scrub up the algae that's collected on the bottom of the tank here. The only reason I'm scrubbing this algae off is I don't mind the look of it, but the longer I let it sit there, the harder it's going to be to get off eventually when I do want to have it off of here. So, and I'm not going to do a perfect job anyways, I'm just going to get the majority of it. So, 20% under that now. We do have a problem out here at the gallery. The 120s are glass. The 700 is glass. The 2000 viewing panels, acrylic. The saltwater aquarium, also acrylic. So, we're going to want to be able to see the fish, but we can't use a typical cleaner to clean both glass as well as acrylic. We have to use something that's safe for both. We have to use something like this. This is the Fritz glass and acrylic cleaner. It's also ammonia-free, aquarium safe, but it's good on glass as well as acrylic. Like if I were to take Windex and accidentally get it on acrylic or whatnot, it could potentially cause crazing, which is thousands and thousands of micro cracks on the surface. It ruins it. It's got to be sanded out, buffed out. Good luck. This doesn't do that. So typically as tanks are filling, I give them all a spray down. I typically don't have to do this very often either, because I'll show you in a minute what this actually does once we're done. And the reason why I like it, continue to use it. I wish it was an aerosol can or something that I didn't have to keep pumping, but most people don't have this many aquariums, so. Sometimes I only actually clean the glass of the aquariums that I'm doing water changes on as well. So it's a nice reminder, like, okay, well that one's done, just in case I forget. Like I'll look at an aquarium with dirty glass, I'll be like, oh, that's because I didn't do it. It's just a simple reminder for a mind like mine. I like to spray all the tanks first and kind of let it sit. Whew. It's only one other thing that could make my forearms that sore. Good workout. Okay, here's what I wanted to show you. So once we wipe all this off, I think the camera will pick this up because I usually see it myself, but cleans the glass pretty well. It does what it's supposed to do. That's not why I use it. I could get something else that's just as affordable and just as easy to get a hold of, but what they don't do is make it fingerprint proof. So what it does, yeah, you can't even see that. What it does, and maybe the camera will pick it up, but it puts a sheen on the glass, like a protective layer, and it's like, it's very velvety feeling, like very slippery feeling, but not greasy, if that makes any sense. It makes it feel like it's brand new. Like, oh. Did you ever take that protective wrap off like a new phone and you feel that screen for the first time? That's what it feels like. Yeah, that's why I like it. That's why I like using it. Because, I don't know, it just cleans well, but it also leaves that protective film on it. I'm gonna give this a little bit more squirt. Again, the only thing I don't like about it is this pumping action, but if this was the only aquarium that I had, no big deal. I just gotta do it like 10 to 15 times. on big surfaces, so that kind of sucks sometimes. The best part about this is, I don't know if you guys will be able to hear me. The best part about this tank, and the way I designed it and the way all the aquariums are run, is I don't have to shut equipment off as I'm draining the water. Everything can run. It's all drawing from the base of the tank, besides the 40 gallons. Oh, I guess I was going to say, I wonder if Fritz knows. Of course they know. But it does say it helps repel dust, fingerprints, and water spots. Damn it, I never get to discover anything. I just like the fact that it's safe on aquarium glass and acrylic. I drained way too much water out of the 2000. Yeah, 30%. No, that seems about right. That's fine, no big deal. Now I wait for this to finish. We're 45 minutes in, and within those 45 minutes, we got 4 of the 120 gallon tanks changed. This last one is now filling up. We've got massive water drained out of the 2000, as well as the 700. Now, once this tank is done filling up, I can go about my day. It's just going to become a waiting game. I'm going to set up a camera and point it at the aquariums. And as it fills up, I'll come out and I'll take the hose out of one tank, put it in the other, watch the camera a little bit more again. As I'm editing or working on something else, etc., I'm most likely going to clean the gallery. And then once that's the last tank's done, unplug them all, and put the hoses away, and that's it. Everything's already up and running. Filtration's running on both the tanks. I don't have to do anything else. You know, and I guess in the 4 hours that we're waiting for these guys to fill and whatnot, I probably could have done the saltwater tanks as well, because their water comes from stored barrels. I couldn't do the 40 gallons because I need a water source, but they only take about an hour anyway. I think I can get every aquarium done, a 25% water change out here, as things are right now, in 5 hours. A day's work. Half a day's work. Oh, and one more thing that I think you guys might find interesting. So this tank, this is coming from my house, this is coming from the gallery. The gallery just has, I'll show you, a little hot water tank like this. If you have one in your house, you know that 2-3 people can have a shower, and then the last person has to have a cold one. It happens here with that as well. It'll run for about an hour, I think, and we're in an hour in, and I can feel the temperature of the hose cooling down. Also, this hose isn't long enough to go to this final tank, so it's got to drape over the 2000. Big deal, we always do that stuff. So what I'll do is, I don't want to slow it down. I just increase the heat of this one to compensate for the cold one. So I have some cold water and warm water going through, and combined, I'll make it until it's like 25 degrees Celsius, 26 degrees Celsius, and it's like, I never ran out of hot water type of deal, because the house just simply doesn't. I've never seen, well, a couple times, but it was a lot of water I was using. I just take the camera and I point it right at the tank. Now that camera is going to watch this aquarium, and I can do it from my phone, go about my day. I do have some things I got to do, but as soon as the water level gets to beyond here, or I can't see it, I know I got about 30 minutes to get out here. 30, 45 minutes to get out here and either shut the water off or put them in over here. So as soon as it gets up to there, I'll wait about 30 minutes. I'll come out here and watch it. We'll get the water level up where I want it to be. I'll put these hoses over there. I'll point the camera at that tank, do the same thing until it's filled, shut the water off, and that's it. Now, I don't expect you guys to get too much from this video or to find any of this relatable, but I knew that many of you guys are curious of how I do it, and then maybe there's some tips or something within this video that you're able to apply to your own aquarium. Anyways, hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you're not subscribed to this channel yet, I highly suggest you do. I'll see you guys in the next video.